It's time for the Lovable Me Show. Based on the award-winning book series, I Am a Lovable Me. Get ready to have some fun learning with Lovable, our resident enlightening bug. Are you ready? Close your eyes and let's count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Now open them. Here we go.
Hello and welcome back to the Lovable Me Show. I'm Sharon Pencina, your host and the author of the award-winning I Am a Lovable Me books for children. For today's show, I'd like to share some of the experience and insight I gained during my many years in practice as a former hypnotherapist. I want to shed some light on what to do when life throws you a curveball. Just like many of you, I faced challenges in my lifetime too, including everything from a lack of income, divorce, raising a child as a young, inexperienced single parent, as well as a couple of health issues along the way that I can tell you were pretty challenging and most would categorize as a life or death situation. But we can table that discussion for another day. I specifically used the word challenge in describing the types of situations that I've encountered. And I say that with great intent as I want to illustrate a fact that what we say and how we describe our circumstances ultimately has a huge impact on whether or not we move through life situations or we remain stuck and unable to find our way out. And I'll explain more about that as we go along. But since many of us have developed the habit of mental commentary when it comes to whatever is occurring in our lives, and we're constantly telling ourselves stories about whatever we feel, we think, see, touch, and taste whenever it comes to what's going on in our lives, most of these stories keep us so busy that we completely forget to simply observe and be with what is as part of our daily routine. If you're compelled to speak about your circumstances and you already have the understanding that what you say really matters and that your thoughts and words are becoming part of the programming that leads you towards an action, why not select words that help you move toward achieving the goal or the desired outcome you want? So, in other words, rather than making a statement such as, "This is terrible," or "I am doomed," why not say something like, "I'll find a way to move through this," or "I am determined and will not let this get me down," or even more powerful yet, "I am resilient and determined and eager to step up to the challenge." These positive statements help us proceed in a very self-empowered manner. In fact, if you sit with these statements, you'll see that these positive words are much more uplifting and offer you the motivation and inspiration to address whatever curveball comes your way. This is why I like to use the word challenge, because the connotation for me prompts me to rise up and meet the situation with greater awareness. And by the way, when you're challenged, if you really need to vent and let it out before you engage in a more proactive approach, go ahead and get that out of your system first, because this is going to help you diffuse the intensity of the situation and allows resistance to dissipate so that you can proceed ahead without interference. This works well for me and helps me clear the air so that I can take a deep breath, relax, detach, and get on to creative solutions. Now, since we're constantly programming our mind for success or for failure, depending on our narrative, It's important to choose our words carefully and deliberately whenever possible. Here's where a level of discernment comes in. So ask yourself, are you someone that tends toward a glass that's half full, or a glass that's half empty when it comes to your view of life? Does that way of perceiving the world around you cast a light on the subject or put a damper on it? Some of you may be thinking that you're simply realists that tend to look at things based on the so-called facts and whatever your five senses are telling you about any given situation in the moment. And then there are those of you who have been manifesting and creating positive changes in your lives and have already taken the action steps by ceasing the mental commentary and look for more creative, positive programs that you can actively implement that help produce more successful outcomes. When it comes to science, neuroplasticity is the mind's ability to change the brain. And neuroscience confirms that when you change your mind, you change your brain. And when that happens, you change your life. So the choice is always yours. Now, let me share a few tips that work for me when life throws me a curveball. And once you get the hang of it, pass it along to your kiddos as a way to mindfully parent them. Remember, you are their greatest role model. Now, these tips are in no particular order. So see if any of them resonate for you. And if they do, drop a comment below so that I know that it's, something you're interested in. Regarding any challenging situation that comes your way, think about what you want for yourself. Be clear about it. Write it down because that helps clarify your desired outcome. That can be as simple as experiencing peace in any situation. So set your intent. Here's another example of something that you might want to set as your intent. Maybe you want to feel more confident. If you know someone that already possesses that quality, take notice of what they look like and what they sound like, and see if you can imagine stepping into their body or their shoes to get a good idea of what it feels like to be that confident. So in other words, use your imagination and add lots of emotion to it. Next, notice what you say to yourself and others when it comes to your confidence, if that's what you're choosing to manifest. If you're saying things like, I have no confidence, I'm afraid, or I can't do it, or you're simply dwelling on how terrible the outcome might be if you put yourself out there, you're not going to go very far. All of the above will result in your remaining stuck in the same mindset and situation. What if you gave this a go? You started becoming more cognizant of your choice of words and actions and your thoughts. And each time you think or say, I can't do it, instead you go ahead and shout out loud or inwardly to yourself, and you say the word stop. You know that in order to get from point A to B, you simply need to stop and cease the negative thoughts and the words that have been programming you all along and decide to try something new, like having a positive thought or saying something uplifting. Next, keep an open mind. Open your mind to a new way of doing things. And I'm going to reiterate, that means to cease fueling self-defeating, counterproductive self-talk that is simply reinforcing what you don't want. Tell yourself to stop. If you do this step repeatedly, you will ultimately get those thoughts and words down to a minimum until they eventually become the exception to the rule and finally extinct. Now you have the space between you and any life situation and have a greater level of detachment that results in awareness. This allows you to replace old self-defeating habits with what you really want to create for yourself instead. And remember to practice this with your kiddos. When they see you taking life's challenges in stride and stepping up to the plate and hitting those curveballs right out of the park, you're modeling self-empowerment that will last them a lifetime. Now, before we go, please be sure that you check out all the I Am a Lovable Me books today by clicking on the link at the very end of this video. They're available in hardcover as well as audio iBooks. And also, you will never miss any of our shows by watching them on Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And lastly, don't forget, if you have a topic you think people, any listeners, parents, caregivers want to hear about and would like to be a guest on my show, please message me on Facebook. I'm your host, Sharon Pencina, and I'll be back next week with some more great self-empowerment tips. Thank you all for joining in, and be sure to have a fantastic day.
Thank you for watching The Lovable Me Show. Also, if you have any questions for Lovable, go ahead and ask away. Don't forget to visit us next week, right here in the Facebook bugbear.